Hello everyone. Today I'm taking a break from making my grandson's quilt and I'm going to make another one of these. This was really fun to make and I'm making them out of necessity. As you know, I've said several times, I own a small independent bookstore, and this coming Friday is Pink Friday, what's called Pink Friday. So Pink Friday is the push, I guess, to shop small before you shop big box. So shop local before you shop big box. So because you know next Friday or the following Friday is Black Friday. So Pink Friday is the Friday before Pink Friday to promote shopping local and shopping small and trying to get people to choose local and small before hitting the big box stores. And I wanted to do a pink Christmas themed shirt. And I did that one as a prototype, I guess, maybe, or a trial to see how it turned out, if it turned out how I wanted it to turn out, or thought it would turn out. And I did learn a few things from doing the first one, that one. So I'm doing two because my mom will also be working with me that day at the bookstore. So we're gonna do, I'm gonna have one and she's gonna have one. So I did learn to make a few adjustments, like a few things to make adjustments on after doing that one. So, and I'm gonna wash these once they're done to kind of soften the look of them up as well. Plus they've got some of that blue pen on them, so I'll need to wash that blue pen out. And so the first thing I did on the first shirt was find center of my shirt and mark it. And actually, instead of using well, I think now I can use a water soluble. I did it earlier with a heat erase pen so that I could mark it and iron on my fabric stabilizer, which is already under here. So there's just a little bit of that mark left. So what I did with doing that was, this shirt I measured it, but I decided with this shirt I would fold it in half, like line up the seams and fold it in half, and then mark the half point. And I would come a good bit down from the neck, because I didn't want the pattern up too high, but I don't want it down too low. So I was trying to find a good like point, central point on that. So then I just took one of my blue heat erase pens, and I guess now I could use my water erase pen now. Kind of mark that. So line up all the seams and then fold it in half and mark it. And that's should be, and it's up still kind of high, but I didn't want that to be like the central point of my thing, but I wanted it to use it as to keep my pattern centered, and also to help me in because I did use a hoop because this is a shirt, so to keep my shirt still and keep all of my stuff centered, so I keep my hoop centered on my shirt, so that when I work within my hoop, as long as I'm keeping that centered, then I'm good. And if you're unsure if you've got it centered, then once you get your hoop on there, you know, you can make sure you've got your hoop centered just by holding it up and making sure it drapes evenly still. So I'll do that a couple of times once I get this on here to make sure I have, and it looks like I'm going to be off just by putting it that way. So it looks like I need to go a little bit to my left, which might be your right, not sure really on that. Did I not loosen it up enough? There we go. There we go. And I'll get it good and tight because some of these threads, when going through the shirt, well, through the stabilizer, through the shirt, and then through the material, it's a little bit difficult to get through. So you want to make sure your hoop is rather tight. And so we'll be using pretty tulle, and I found this lovely yarn. It's called scrubby yarn or scrunchy yarn or something like that. And of course I threw the thing away on it when I did it on the other one. And I have some of these snowflakes, these iridescent snowflakes, and I used some iridescent beads on the center of my snowflakes. And then I have this entire pile of pink ribbons to pick through and decide what to use as finishing touches. So, and then of course I used some just stranded cotton to stitch stuff down with, and you will need, if you're going to use this stuff, you will need a large eye needle. So I don't know that a tapestry needle, because they're kind of blunt, you're going to need a sharper needle. So I ended up using a large eye chenille needle for the sharp point. And it does make a bigger hole so that you don't shred off all of this fun iridescent scruggly stuff. So there is that. And honestly, I think that's, no, I used a smaller odd milliner's needle for a couple of things, and then I just used a standard embroidery needle for a couple of things. So you might need 3 different needles, but overall it's pretty simple. And I started my last one with the hat, and I decided that I want to start this one with the face, simply because I want the top of the face to be under the edge of the hat, because I had to go back and make it look like that went under the hat. So I think it'll be easier this time to start with the face. So now that I've got that on there, I'm going to make sure it's centered real quick. Okay, so I think that it looks centered to me. So then this, and how I cut the face out on the last one, I have this letter O, this just 8-inch cardboard letter O, that I'm using for creating the letters of my grandson's name. And I needed a circle or a oval shape, and that's the best I could come up with. That was the right size, and it worked perfectly. So the first one, just everything lined up perfectly, and I didn't measure a thing, which I love when things work out like that. I cut the hat out first and then cut this out, and then the two lined up perfectly. So I'm not disappointed at all. And I'm doing it a little up higher than half because I folded this top portion down and stitched it across and lined it up with the edge of the hat, and then kind of added extra bits to it to kind of make it look like it was up under the edge of the hat. So again, just using my water erasable pen. So I'm just back stitching this top part down. I will give you a little tip. If you're going to use your water pen, your water erasable pen, use it after you have already ironed whatever needs to be ironed that you need to mark. Because if you put your pen on and then iron over your water erasable pen, that pen, it becomes, that ink becomes permanent. So that's why I use the heat erase pen when lining up my stabilizer on the bottom, on the back side of my shirt, so that when I ironed over it, it would erase that pen mark, but then I could go back with my water soluble pen and mark where I needed to mark. Because like I said, once I get done, I'll throw these in the wash to just kind of, you know, soften them up. I just bought these shirts, so I don't like wearing shirts or clothing period that hasn't been washed before wearing it. So since I just bought them, I'm going to go ahead and stitch them, and then I'm going to wash them, and then we'll be all good to go. Okay, so now that I've got that part done, I'm going to come back over here to my shirt. Oh, and one thing I forgot to mention, because there's all of this extra material for the shirt, you're going to want to get it out of your way. So what I used for the last shirt to get all of this material up and out of the way, was just claw clips and some straight pins. So this big part I claw clipped up here out of the way, and the sleeves still kind of get in the way, but not as bad. So then this bottom part, I just rolled it down, and then took straight pins and then buried the ends. And trust me, you're going to want to bury those ends because you will end up stabbing yourself if you don't. So that kind of gets everything up and out of the way so that you're just working with your hoop. And actually this helps a little bit because you still get a little bit of an elevation on your hoop. So I want my face down this direction and make sure that I've got that I'm working at the right thing. I tried to line my top up with my top of my shirt so that I could stay lined up, but I wanted to make sure before I started that I was still staying lined up. So I'm going to be a little more paranoid this time about things lining up and measuring up, because like I said last time, I did not plan it, and it worked out perfectly, and it did line up and measure up. But this time I'm like, if I don't measure this, I'm going to end up with something wonky, even though it worked out last time. That's just my paranoia for you. And I have already been watching the Christmas movies. I don't know about you guys, but I have. And I don't currently have one going because I'm recording. But last night while I was doing the other shirt, I went through like 2 Christmas movies. Not last night, the night before. See, my days are all messed up. Can't keep up with what's going on when. I know I've said it before, I am not the best at keeping stitches even or spaced evenly or stitch length even, especially when I'm scoop stitching. So I can't say that it looks terrible, even though I'm not. So if I were you, don't worry about it. If they're wonky, they're wonky. I think that adds to the character anyways, as I've said before. So and I did leave a raw edge on this outside just because I like the fringe, and I think it adds a nice little thing. And that again will, when I wash this shirt, that'll fray nicely. And about the blue pen, yes, I'm speaking from experience on the blue pen. I did learn that the hard way. If you iron over the water soluble pen, it becomes permanent. So for those that don't know, now you do. Maybe you won't make the same mistake I made. Thankfully, it was in a spot that was easily covered up, and it was not like a giant line. It was just a little dot like that. So I was able to fix the situation. Okay, so then now for the hat. Okay, so again, you're gonna need tulle. And I rolled off a good bit because as you can see, it's pretty see-through, and you want it to not be see-through. So you're gonna need, I think there's 8, if I counted correctly, there's 8 layers in that one. You're just gonna fold and fold and fold. And you don't have to use tulle for this. You can use whatever else you have. You can use material, or you can use ribbon, or you could use silk, really, whatever you had. That would work. So with this one, I just herringbone stitched in green, and I think I want to do the same thing on this one. So I still have green on my needle from last time. The first couple of stitches are the most vexum, I guess, if you want to call them that, because you're just getting it to hold this down, and I can't get my thumb far enough over here. Oh, I'm just gonna have to do a stab stitch on this for just a minute. Now then, so I learned a little lesson on doing this last time because I started out stitching this through the t-shirt, and it is really thick and really hard to get through the material. So I have just a small, very small milliner's needle with a white thread on it, and I am going to just bunch this up right here to create that look that I want to create. And then I'm going to I'm going to couch it down because it was so difficult to get this through the material, even with a large eye chenille needle that I used to get this through the material, and I could get it through the material. It was just so difficult. I lost a lot of the scraggly stuff. So my second attempt, like I did get it on there, but it didn't have the look that I wanted to have because it wasn't as full as I wanted it to be. So I went back and I tacked some down on top of what I had already stitched through, and it worked so much better. As you'll be able to see with this, it does work better, look better. And then when I couched it down, I couched down a smaller amount than this, but I already had some on there, so I thought this time I just couched down a large amount and maybe it would still look good. But then when I got done couching it down, I clipped the ends so that it didn't have the rounded look, it had the scraggly look to it, if that makes sense. So on the other one, I used this down here to add just a little pop, little fringe to this down here. Think we should do it again? I still like it. I still really like it. I think we should. I don't want these to be exactly the same, but there are things that I really like from the other one that I want to use on this one. And where is my pink? On this one, I just used a single strand. No, I used this for, what did I use this for? Oh, I used this for putting the beads down on the other one. I did use the same color and possibly the same needle, but it's just a regular sewing needle, so it's got a real tiny eye, so it'll only hold one strand. And there's a ribbon in the bottom of this, so I try to make sure that I go through that ribbon. I tried to scallop this one with this other fringe that's up here. Did pretty well. I'm just going to tack this little end down, and we'll be done with this little piece. Okay. So we've got a nice little start. So then we're going to do some more of this to make the ball. And I am going to do this ball differently this time too, after fussing with that one last time. So I'm going to go back to my white. So then I'm going to couch this down. Oops. A few times. Oh, it's looking quite nicely. So now, do I want to fray the ends like this? Or do I just want to stick a snowflake in the middle? I think I want to fray the ends. I kind of like the bow look, but I think I like the frayed ends look better. I like it. So, ooh, I really like it. Now then, I used this ribbon and some French knots and stuff last time. Let's see, what can I do? I want them to be a little bit different. There's also this. It's got pink in it, but it's purple. I don't know if it's too much. Might be too much. Hmm. Okay, sorry guys, not sure what happened, but the camera cut off. So anyway, we finished doing our ribbons across, and so then now we've got to do the bow tie, or the ruff, or whatever you want to call it, done at the end. And I think I'm gonna give this one some earrings, a little something extra. So let's see. I'm not gonna attempt to take that silica packet out of the middle of that one right now, since that last one exploded on me. And I'm going to do this one a little bit different because I made the other one a little bit too wide. So I think I'll just stick with the width of the tulle itself and see how that does. Is that any... it's actually about the same. So, and I used my lime green to tack that down in the middle. Y'all, my phone is not wanting to record, but I'm all done. Love it, love it, love it. What y'all think? Turned out so cute. They both did. So cute. And they're just different enough to be different. So. Alright. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed.